Hey, sweetheart, you ready? Yeah.
In a remote town in Western Australia, Matthew McGoff and his young daughter Shannon are about to set off for an overnight fishing trip.
Shannon's my only child. We had a really good relationship, really real friends as well as father and daughter. Got on along really well. We always used to laugh and play together a lot.
For Shannon, trips away with her dad are always something to look forward to.
And we are off ski.
Me and my dad were pretty close. We used to go away on weekends a lot.
Mum, we're going!
We'd go fishing, bushwalking, go camping and stuff, because that was the kind of thing he liked to do.
Be safe.
Matthew is recently separated from his wife, Irene. But she knows how much Matthew cares for Shannon, and she's more than happy to see them spend time together.
Shannon loved camping, and so they used to quite regularly go on camping trips and nothing ever happened, so there was never any reason to worry.
We're off, sweetheart.
I got further than you.
No, you didn't.
Yes,
No, you didn't.
Matthew wants to make this trip an extra special one, as he's about to move 1,500 miles away. And this may be their last weekend together for some time. So he takes Shannon to his favourite rock pool.
It was our last trip. We were going to see each other for a while, so that's made it a bit more special.
Well, it's just a case of spend some time with Shannon for the last week or so before I took off.
Have you caught anything, Dad?
Nothing yet, sweetheart. Maybe later, eh?
That night, father and daughter enjoy an idyllic evening together in the outback.
One of my favourite parts was probably laying under the stars and watching them, and Dad would point out things that he knew from his childhood.
Yeah, just check out the stars and the moon and listen to all the nightlife coming out to play.
Like a kind of a bonding thing, which was good.
Right, let's go, sweetheart.
The next morning, they're due to head back home. It's been a great trip, but one thing is missing. They haven't caught any fish.
Shannon sort of looked up underneath the hair and you could see she was a little bit disappointed.
So before returning Shannon home, Matthew decides to take a detour to try and catch her some fish.
Listen, sweetheart, I've got an idea. Jump in.
I sort of had a bit of an idea where there was another dam, a fair way away, but yeah, had a general idea about where to go.
Getting to the fishing spot means heading a further 50 miles away from civilization, far deeper into the outback.
We're just pretty much going through a bush track, not well defined on the ground or anything. It's just virtually a couple of wheel tracks going through the scrub.
His 4x4 is a tough vehicle, but Matthew is driving in ever rougher terrain.
You're kidding me. You stay here, it's all right.
What happened, Dad?
It's a tyre. It's no problem.
Matthew has come well prepared and has 3 spare tyres on board.
I wasn't in particularly good mood of changing a tyre at that time of the day. I was sweating, yeah, I was bloody It's soaked to the bone.
Yeah. It's all right. It's all done. You all right? Yeah, that's good. Let's go.
With the tyre fixed and 2 more spares in the back, Matthew is still confident he can find the fishing spot. With just 1 spare tyre left, Matthew abandons his quest to go fishing and decides that it's time to get Shannon home.
I had 1 more spare tyre, but the way I was going through the tyres, I didn't think I had enough.
Dad. Are we gonna be all right?
Daddy again, home.
I was pretty peeved about the idea of getting a 3rd puncher, again in a stinging heat.
Matthew knows that the 4x4 is their only way out. But with no more spares, another puncture could be fatal. With hundreds of miles of scorching desert all around, there's no way they could ever walk out of here alive.
You all right, sweetheart?
Yep.
Good. Right, let's go.
Are we lost, Daddy?
Shannon said, we lost Dad, and I said, I think so. You know, no use lying to her, you know. I was in 4-wheel drive, and I was just pushing along. Straightened the steering wheel up and just kept going.
You'll be fine. Yeah.
But running the car on 2 flat tyres in this scorching heat is putting enormous strain on the engine.
We're in 4-wheel drive, which brings up the revs of the engine a little bit. And because I was concentrating on what I was doing, I wasn't watching the temperature of the radiator, and it boiled.
Matthew now faces a huge dilemma. Their car is their only means of escape, but will go no further without water.
We had to put some water in the radiator, otherwise I would have cooked the motor.
But he has only 20 litres left, and in the raging heat of the outback, water is the key to survival. It's a huge risk, but Matthew is determined to get Shannon out of the desert and home safely.
I put 10 litres of water in the radiator, and I kept 10 litres for Shannon and myself.
Right.
Whether it was an electrical fault or whether it was dry grass pushed up around underneath the hot exhaust system, I don't know, but I noticed smoke coming out from underneath the bonnet.
Shannon, get out! Run now! Keep running back!
He has just seconds to grab whatever possessions he can
Stay back, baby!
before the car explodes into flames.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
They can do nothing as they watch the car burn. Their only means of escape is destroyed.
And we just sat there and watched it burn, and I was giving it a cuddle. and trying to reassure her that we'd be right. Yeah, she was scared. She was very scared, yeah.
What started as an innocent fishing trip has turned to disaster. Matthew's only way of getting Shannon out of the desert is gone.
He just looked really worried, and I don't know, there was just a vibe about him. He wasn't his normal happy self, so I could tell something was wrong.
What's wrong, Daddy?
It's been 2 days since the car caught fire, and Matthew is determined to get Shannon to safety. But stranded in the endless expanse of Outback, their situation is looking bleaker with every passing hour. Then, on the horizon, Matthew spots something. It's an old radio tower, a possible lifeline.
And I thought maybe I could get up there and get some mobile phone reception, you know, get up high, get a signal.
He knows the best chance of them being rescued is to stay put.
The golden rule in the Outback is don't leave your vehicle. If somebody is in the area and can find you, they'll come to that vehicle.
But he also knows that they're now so far from their original fishing spot that any search party could take days to find them.
The golden rule goes out of the window when you don't think there's any possible chance of anybody finding you where you are.
Sweetheart, we're gonna get going.
With precious little water left, Matthew is not prepared to sit and wait and risk watching his daughter die.
I had to sort of think about how to get us out of there, so
You got the water?
it seemed the right thing to do to head for that hill.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
But distances in the Outback are deceiving. And already severely dehydrated in the 115-degree heat, it's a decision that could kill them.
The hill didn't seem that far away, but because it was so hot, we had to stop heaps and heaps of times.
It's all right. You all right? That's it. That's it. Come on.
The closer we got to it, the distance just seemed to go further and further and further. It seemed that we were never going to get there. A lot of sweating, a lot of reassuring Shannon we'd be right. So, it's pretty harsh.
It takes 4 excruciating hours for Matthew and Shannon to finally make it to the tower. It's a rickety old structure, but his only hope of gaining enough height to get a signal and call for help.
The dangers of climbing a mast, falling, breaking my neck, leg, whatever. Just didn't think of it, just did it.
Careful, Daddy.
I had to get the highest point that I could to see if I could get signal from a mobile phone.
But he's just so far out in the desert that even at this height, there's not even the faintest signal.
So I stuck it back in my pocket and climbed back down the mast. Disappointed. Surely that would attract somebody's attention.
In the arid outback, the desert scrub is like a tinderbox.
Well, the fire caught a lot quicker than what I thought it would.
Suddenly, the wind changes direction, and the acrid smoke billows over them.
Wrapped my arm around her and pulled her head in towards my chest because the smoke was so thick. We were choking on it.
The fire dies, but the smoke fumes force them to drink the last of their precious water supply. It's also burnt all of their remaining possessions. They're now left completely exposed to the ravages of the Australian outback. Matthew decides that their only hope of being spotted is to strike out in the direction from which the helicopter came.
The reason I thought of going down towards the open ground, people that have more of a chance to see us.
But walking on in the blazing midday sun only dehydrates them further.
The heat, flies, mosquitoes at night, dust. No sleep for 3 days and nights. I was stuffed. No other way of putting it. I was absolutely knackered.
Shannon can take little more. The heat has exhausted her, and she's now so weak she can barely walk.
I wished that I had the energy to be able to pick her up and carry her, but I didn't have that. I might take 2 or 3 steps, but yeah, that was it. I had to put it down again. I couldn't do it. That's probably a very, very hard thing for a dad to, or for any person, I'd say, to be able to understand that you can't pick your own girl up, you can't pick your own child up and carry her. You just don't have the energy to do it, and that's a pretty hard thing to come by, to understand. Very hard.
All rescue efforts have failed to find Matthew and Shannon McGoff, and they've gone 2 days without water in the ferocious heat. Extreme dehydration is causing Shannon's organs to shut down. She and her dad are both close to death.
I doubt very much whether we would have survived an 8th day. Pretty bloody sure of it, actually.
Then, just when all hope is lost, they come across a track. It's where the car must have driven past them the night before.
I was not going to leave the track. We're following it in the hope that this vehicle would come back or another vehicle had come through.
But Shannon can go no further.
Shannon wasn't saying much at all. Yeah, very, very quiet. I'd speak to her and she'd just shake her head or nod her head up and down, but she wouldn't speak, so disheartening.
Exposed to the scorching desert sun, Matthew needs to protect his dying child from the unbearable heat.
It was boiling. The heat had risen big time. It was hotter than the last few days. And I knew that I needed to get Shannon into the shade. So I dug a hole in the ground so that I could put Shannon in it and then cover her back over. And that would keep her a bit cooler than sitting out in the open.
But in this remote part of the outback, there's no guarantee they'll see another car for days, even weeks. Matthew knows he may have just dug his daughter's grave.
I was extremely sad because I'd brought my daughter out into this wilderness and that I'd put her life in danger.
After 8 days, battling to keep himself and his daughter alive, Matthew finally gives up.
It was just like, it's hopeless. There's nobody here, nobody can see us, nobody will see us. We were going to actually die of thirst, a slow, agonising death.
Dad rushing back over and waking me up and saying that we'd been found.
After 8 days in the outback, their ordeal is finally over.
I felt an enormous weight lift off my shoulders. I felt fantastic.
I still remember the car pulling up and this little girl coming out and me just crying and crying and putting her in my arms. And she said, I know why you're crying, Mum, because you're happy to see me. And I was, yeah.
25-year-old Linda Scavana is preparing to set off on an epic solo driving trip.
I had 3 weeks vacation from work. It was definitely an escape, just a time to get away from the stresses of everyday life.
A student nurse from Pittsburgh, Linda is heading off across the length of America. A trip that she hopes will satisfy her sense of adventure.
I was kind of a rebel at times, my own idea about things. You know, when you're young and 25, the world doesn't seem so dangerous. I just wanted to see America.
Linda spends 2 weeks traveling over 2,000 miles across the country. But before she heads home, she wants to make the trip extra special with a final hike into the mighty Grand Canyon.
It was one of the places that I wanted to visit because it's one of the natural wonders of the world.
The Grand Canyon is known as an epic tourist destination, but it's also a popular place for hiking.
Come on.
Before she heads off into the canyon, Linda stops off at a local store to buy postcards and let her family know that she's fine.
On one of the postcards, I saw a set of waterfalls, and I thought, oh, I'd like to see those. But I wasn't sure where you leave and what kind of a hike it was.
Do you know if there are any organized tours to the waterfalls?
No organized tours as such. If you drive up to the hilltop campsite, you can make your way down to the Supai village, and the falls are right down there.
Okay, that's good. Thanks.
So I wrote my postcards up, and I recall sending one off to my brother and sister-in-law.
To get to the waterfalls, Linda and Coco Jin must first drive to a staging post at the beginning of the hike.
I didn't know that it would take me as long as it did because it was, I think, maybe about 35 miles. But it was all dirt road, so it took me a couple of hours to get through that and to finally get to the hilltop.
By the time they get there, it's already lunchtime. It's late in the day to be setting off on a hike. But undeterred, Linda heads off into the valley.
Yeah, come on.
Yes, I was overwhelmed by the size and the enormity of it. It made me feel small.
Linda's backpack weighs over 20 pounds and is slowing her down.
I knew I could make better time without it because it was beginning to feel very heavy on my back.
Ditching the backpack will mean leaving behind her sleeping bag, food, and only supply of water.
I would have nothing except, the clothes that I had on my back and a few items that I had in my purse.
With no experience of being out in the wild, Linda makes a terrible decision.
I thought I could always come back for it the following morning.
Coco.
My priority at that point in time was just to make it to the Indian reservation, make it somewhere safe before dark.
Hello!
But as night falls, Linda and Coco are just tiny specks in the vast canyon floor.
Is anybody there?
Yeah, I was totally alarmed with getting dark and not being where I needed to be. That was my realization that I wasn't on the right trail.
And with the light fading, Linda has no chance of retracing her steps to her backpack.
You start thinking about the worst sort of things that can happen and just kind of overcome by fear. The first night was devastating. It was very, very scary. You just can't see, other than the stars that are out. There's no artificial lighting of any kind.
As the temperature on the canyon floor plummets, Linda is totally unprotected against the cold.
In my backpack, I had my sleeping bag, and I had all my food supply and my water.
In the pitch black night, it's impossible for Linda to find her backpack.
So without that, I really had nothing to protect me from the elements and nothing to sustain me.
Her only source of comfort is her best friend, her pet dog, Coco Gin.
Coco Gin just stayed by me. I was thankful to have him because we could cuddle up with one another, and he would offer some warmth. I cried off and on, I think, the entire night, just out of fear and not knowing what was going to happen to me. I remember getting very, very hot. I was thirsty and I had nothing to eat or drink. My mouth was just terribly, terribly dry.
In these conditions, human beings need around 2 gallons of water a day.
My nurse's training told me that I needed to have water, that there was no way I was going to be able to survive without water. I knew I could live without food, but the water was going to be essential because it's so hot during the day down there. And I guess real fear set in at that point.
Coco, come on.
If I had been completely alone without the dog, I think I would have fallen apart.
Tired? Pretty tired right now.
I would talk to him. I'm sorry I got you into this, Coco. But we'll find our way out, trying to keep positive.
But by early evening, Linda realizes she and Coco Gin are still completely lost within the vast wilderness.
I knew I was going to be down there another night.
Now able to collect a few mouthfuls of water, Linda decides to hike away from the spring in search of a trail out of the canyon.
My new plan was to drink as much water as I could before I would set off that day so I would be hydrated, and then follow a trail and see where it would possibly lead to. As long as I can retrace my steps and get back to my water supply, because I knew that that was paramount.
For 5 days, Linda searches north, south, east, and west of her base. But each day ends in crushing disappointment. After 11 freezing nights out in the wilderness, a violent storm blows into the canyon.
I built a shelter for myself in between 2 rocks that came out of the sand, and then I took some of the shrubbery around and built a little roof on top.
But the makeshift shelter does little to keep off the torrential rain and provides no defense against the predators lurking in the undergrowth.
As I was trying to fall asleep, I heard some rustling. I became alert and threw a handful of sand in the direction that I thought I heard the sound. And then I heard a hissing sound.
Fearful of deadly rattlesnakes hiding in the bush, Linda is forced to abandon the shelter.
It was one of the toughest nights. There was thunder and lightning and a lot of rain, and it was very frightening down there because I didn't have any shelter. I was out in the open. It was definitely cold, and definitely that was a concern, the hypothermia.
Alone, miles from civilization, Linda knows she must find the mental strength to survive.
I started to think of ways to occupy my mind, and I said a rosary, and then I started to sing songs, just something to keep me occupied, to get me through that night.
Once more, Linda is alone. But following the horses has led her to a welcome sight.
I noticed pools of water, and I remember looking at it and seeing little insects or whatever swimming around in it, and I thought, well, I don't really have any other choice except to drink it because that's the only way I'm going to survive. The water was kind of bitter, but it was wet, and I knew it would get me through another day.
As night falls, Linda drifts in and out of consciousness and is haunted by nightmares and fear.
I had started having dreams of animals coming and eating out my eyes.
Now seriously malnourished, Linda is starting to fantasize about an end to her hunger.
I began thinking about food quite a bit. And so I would kind of just sit there on a rock, you know, and think about dinner menus, writing those out in my journal. Spare ribs and potatoes au gratin, tossed salad, and cauliflower with hollandaise sauce. So kind of vicariously, I was eating through my menus that I would write. I was sitting there resting, and I decided that I was going to brush my hair. For what purpose, I wasn't sure.
Almost 3 weeks after getting lost, Linda finally hears the sound she's been yearning for.
I can hear the wings going around, and I knew it was close.
Back in Pittsburgh, when Linda fails to arrive at work, her family finally realizes she's missing, and prompted by the postcard she sent them, they've triggered an aerial search of the canyon. It seems her ordeal is finally over. But Linda is impossible to see from the air.
It was devastating. that they didn't see me, but I could figure out why.
Linda realizes that if she can't be seen from the air in the vast canyon, the chances are she'll never be found. Linda's brother and sister-in-law have now joined the search. But when they arrive at the campsite that Linda began her hike from, they're greeted with a sight that fills them with foreboding.
That's her car, right?
Yeah.
Linda's car has been broken into, but is still exactly where she left it almost 3 weeks ago.
We were told that there was virtually no chance that Linda would be alive if she were lost in the canyons. There wasn't much chance we could even find her body. We were on a gruesome kind of mission. The scary part was that all the canyons look the same, and they're not marked by anything except for an occasional old wooden sign.
They arrive at the same sign where Linda mistakenly turned right and out into the wilderness.
Which way do you think?
I don't know. Like canyon? This way. Maybe.
Linda's brother and sister-in-law turn left towards the Supai village and away from where Linda remains stranded in the canyon.
I was afraid for Linda. The chance of survival after being lost in a place like that just seems so remote.
Mentally and physically exhausted and dangerously dehydrated, Linda finally gives up all hope of ever getting out alive. Now, death is her only way out.
My priority was to find a place where I could just fall asleep and then hopefully die in my sleep. I thought, this is probably going to be it. I remember lying down and thinking, if I could maybe just die in my sleep, that would be the most peaceful way to go. I thought, you know, if I don't make it out of here, my parents will never really know what happened. My mother had lost a brother, her baby brother. And, you know, here's a woman that had gone through a lot of trauma in her younger years. And to me, that was kind of devastating to think that they would be going through that.
After 19 days, battling to stay alive, Linda finally gives up.
I heard voices, and it was almost like, is it a figment of my imagination or is it for real?
Four Native Americans from the local village had noticed footprints in an area where tourists don't venture, and using traditional tracking methods, have managed to locate Linda in the vast canyon.
You could tell by the looks on their faces that they were kind of amazed to find me alive. It was just joyous.
And waiting for her in the nearby Indian village are her brother and sister-in-law.
She looked wonderful and she looked horrible. She was skeletal looking and she was the color of bricks from the canyon soil.
It was just very emotional. It was the best feeling in the world.
The three of us just grabbed each other and put our heads together and just howled, really. You know, the tears just flowed.
But then, for Linda, the best surprise of all. The locals have also found Coco Gin, wandering lost amidst the canyon.
That was a happy reunion, too. Yeah, I was very happy. There was a lot of things that I didn't do correctly, a lot of things, and I, to this day, can't figure out why. With all the big mistakes that I made, you know, how I was able to survive.
Despite her ordeal, Linda made a full recovery and went on to get married and raise a family.
I just didn't think it was my time to go. And that stayed with me, and the persistence and the will, the strong will to survive.